Okay, we should be live. Hello, everybody. I'm Scott Skiba, Executive Artistic Director for Cleveland Opera Theater. Thanks for joining us today for Page to Stage. Today we have with us Tim Nelson of the In Series in Washington, D.C. Tim is a visionary artist, amazing director, conductor, musician, and great human being. Cleveland audiences, you got to experience his work when we did the site-specific production, the world premiere of his adaptation of Circe in November of 2016 at the Arcade downtown. That was a collaboration with Cleveland Opera Theater and Baldwin Wallace. And Tim and I, we go back away. We knew each other at Indiana University, Jacobs School of Music, and just kept in touch. So I'm really excited to welcome Tim here today. Thanks for being with us, Tim.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Thanks for setting this up.
Absolutely. So, Tim, you are the artistic director for In Series. Can you do a couple of things? Just explain what is your company, and what kind of work do you do as the artistic director there?
Sure. In Series is a company in Washington, D.C. that's been around almost 40 years. Season after next will be our 40th anniversary. And I went to school before going to Indiana, where we went to school. I went to school in Baltimore. So I'm sort of from this area. I actually hadn't heard of In Series. Then I was overseas for about 15 years and looking for a path to come back to the States. And the founder of In Series, we were founded by an amazing Chilean pianist. She was retiring and I happened to see the job at the right time, and it was perfect for what I wanted to do, which is the weird stuff, I guess, is the best way to say it. My first season, we actually ended my first season with a remount of the Tale of Circe that you guys helped create. And we started that season with a staged Verdi Requiem that mixed in a one-woman version of King Lear. We've done a revamp of Shakespeare's Tempest using music of Billie Holiday called Stormy Weather. Yeah, we sort of make our own work. We do about 6 productions a year, and we do a ton of outreach, which is pretty central to our mission. And a lot of our work is social justice or community building driven. Until this year, well, that's still the mission, but the 6 productions has changed.
So, obviously, COVID-19 has been the thing that's the catalyst for change. But what kind of things have you re-envisioned and reimagined for your upcoming season?
So I think the easiest way to talk about it is how it happened, which is that right when this started. So we let our staff go home around March 16th, and then within a week of that, and we canceled. We had one production left. We had a Rigoletto planned, and we also had a major gala when we were announcing a new young artist program, which would have been the country's first young artist program exclusively for singers of color. And we were giving a new award, which we will give out each year to Francesca Zambella this year for her work making opera a more inclusive and diverse place. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg was going to be there to give the award. And it was a big deal for us, and it
Yeah.
got canceled. And so after the 2 weeks of shell shock from that, it became clear to me that I wasn't comfortable planning a season we couldn't produce. Small companies like ours, I think, are the best equipped to weather this, but that also comes with a responsibility to find the opportunity here and to use this as a chance to innovate the art form. So I sort of felt that responsibility on my shoulders, and also I hated the idea of making commitments to singers when we knew there was a good chance we wouldn't be able to do it. So I went through a process of what I call getting over myself, because I like live theater. I like the unamplified human voice. I know nothing about streaming technology. I've never been interested in it. But when you thought about how accessible we could make our art form, I mean, instantly we could really get to people uh, who we never reach, but also for whom coming to the opera house is a real challenge or a really scary thought. Then it was easy to get over myself and say, okay, what would happen if we say this entire season we're going to explore digital technology and how it can change the art form in ways we all know the art form needed to change 40 years ago. So we were withering on the vine, and this is maybe a wake up call to do some good work.
Right. Yeah, and I know we've chatted and been in touch with creative minds everywhere. My philosophy is if you surround yourself with visionaries like you and all the other talented folks, then it only improves your vision and your sight
Yeah,
on things.
absolutely. And that's the other thing. This has brought so much conversation into the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's exciting. I mean, in some ways it's terrifying, but in other ways it's exciting to think of. This 400 plus year old art form is suddenly almost at a stage of infancy where the the freedom to be creative and exploratory now exists. Things maybe just a few months ago there was this sense of it has to be so polished and so perfect and so on and on and on with the checklist, even when doing cutting edge type of work. But now it's as we explore ways to collaborate and communicate the art form and make it accessible in a safe way, it's opening up a lot of new things that I hope it's something positive we can take while there's so much suffering that's happening.
Yeah, well, I think with anything in life, it's what you make out of it. And this obviously has a horrible side, but it seems almost the more horrible side, the more opportunity there is for real and lasting and meaningful change to come out of it. And that
Yeah,
change is going to come from places like us. It's not going to
yeah,
come
I,
from
I
big
agree.
institutions because they can't afford to make those changes.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of pivot that is or isn't available, and when so much of your delivery depends on a certain style, it can be challenging. Um, in thinking through this, I know it's something we've chatted about a little bit, but I think that we're going to discover the new best practices for how to deliver to people anywhere they might be. In the age of people consuming so much on their smartphones or devices, or Netflix and chill, maybe like opera and chill can be a
Totally.
can be a new thing. And yeah, I know that I've been wanting to explore it for a while, and now there's no other outlet. It's sort of our only frontier to explore, and I'm curious to see what might come out of it in terms of what digital programs remain as something that we continue to offer, and maybe what digital programs enhance or positively augment the more traditional live experience when that's safe to roll out. It's sort of, the downward slope of all digital, the upward slope of in person. Who knows when that happens and how that happens safely. But we've noticed here at Cleveland Opera Theater that there's been a big uptick in just social media following, and quickly pivoted. We're going to make an exciting announcement tomorrow, actually, for releasing some new education content that has been specifically designed for this. And then, I think following in your footsteps shortly after that, we're going to make another announcement that I think a lot of people are seeing as an inevitable thing, just to continue to deliver. And I don't know, it seemed that reach has been expanding. Now you've been doing some really creative things
Yeah.
like cocktail concerts. There was the Rigoletto Quartet. Have you noticed a positive impact in just reaching new audience that way?
Both reaching a wider audience, people outside of people who are in our circle and moved away, or people who are in our artist circles but are not located here. So for them, in series is new. But we've also noticed a deepening of our ties with existing audience members. Um, because it provides different ways for them to engage with us than just the performance ritual. Um, and as the cocktail concert, so every Friday we've been doing a live concert. Obviously, that what that is determined by finding singers that are partnered with accompanists or roommates with accompanists or can accompany themselves. But what's really exciting about that is the artist reception afterwards, and being a tool to create a space for friends of the arts to come together in a giant Zoom room and talk to each other. Um,
Yeah,
and there's another technology, and I don't know anything about it. I've got to explore it. Called Rally. Have you heard of this?
I've not heard of rally.
It's like a Zoom format, but it's designed more to replicate the real social experience.
Hmm.
So it has different applications that I'm still trying to get my brain around, but one of them is you move with it within a room of people,
Hmm.
and you hear it does what you hear is based on where you are geographically on the screen. So if you move over here, you'd be part of this conversation, but you'd still hear bits over here, and you might hear something's interesting, and then you move over there to be part of that conversation. And
Yeah.
the same with a concert experience. You can have a performance mode where people are the most heard of performance, but you're in the audience and you can hear little whispers, and you can turn and talk to your neighbor in a lesser volume, and it like does the volume based on what a real volume in a concert or theater experience would be.
Oh, that
Uh,
sounds cool.
yeah, it sounds. I mean, I have no idea. I'm gonna play with it tonight and see what it is.
Yeah, let me know. I've been a high school friend who works for a company called Videon Central. They developed Chromecast and Blu-ray technology. We've been sort of late night chatting. So shout out to Micah Willie, engineer there. Probably have him on as a guest in a future Page to Stage. We were playing with an application called Mumble that was developed for gaming, online gaming, and it's ultra low latency, audio only delivery, open source that goes through a server. And so we've got about 120 milliseconds of latency, which is pretty low.
Mhm.
We're still working on some other ways to get even lower, but it does a similar directional sound where, if you were to position piano here, singer here, it would deliver that same audioscape
Wow.
to the people, because that's what I'm sure you and I know a lot of other folks have checked in with. We're looking for ways not only to improve how we deliver to the audiences, but how can we make the collaborative process of rehearsing and preparing as human and as artistic as it can be, because that's a challenge. To date, most things are either a wing and a prayer, and we'll all press go on a click track, or somebody will initiate a click track and we'll sing and we'll hope that that lines up, or everybody gets sent a track and then we record in isolation, and then through Premiere or whatever software editing software you're using, you layer it. But I think we're all craving that sort of live contact, almost rehearsal process.
Yeah, real-time ensembleship.
Yeah, yeah, just that. And then it sounds exciting, the program you were mentioning. I want to check that out too and explore that. Just increasing the audience delivery,
Right.
and not only I'd say on the audience side, but also for the performers. Some of the folks that I've talked with our friends at Cleveland Burlesque, Higher Burlesque, Bella Sin, their artistic director, chatting about developing some programs with that, and she was just sharing how the performers, burlesque or drag, just they really miss the audience interaction. So we're exploring ways to maybe to make that a more palpable thing for the artists who are performing, as
Even just the
well as
act of applause is
yeah,
because in
exactly,
Zoom you can't have multiple people applaud at once. And
right,
even just that this technology would allow people at the end of a singer's performance to applaud and they would hear it
yeah,
all.
clap just to feel
That's
like we're all
big.
yeah, it would be huge. I mean, it sounds like you have some great stuff underway, and you're constructing a virtual opera house, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a whole season of unknowns, starting with the release of this virtual opera house, which is so in July we'll introduce something that we're calling InVision, which will be an opera house without walls. We think it'll have different performance spaces, so it'll have a main stage for our more traditional work. It'll have an experimental black box that people can go to for experimental work. We're thinking of having a sort of community bar space where we could have like what I'm talking about, the ballet experience, an educational wing, and then maybe also a space where we can host content of other organizations with whom we have a relationship. There's some really cool small groups that have already been doing this work, this sort of video work for the last couple of years and have been under the radar. And now all of a sudden they are the experts. And
Right.
I think it's really cool how this turns the tables. And like groups like them, which hardly existed, are now the ones I'm going to and saying, how do I do this?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it really opens the doors for collaboration and communication. So, count us in for sharing content. It's a whole new world of how do you collaborate with other companies, and
But
so,
it also allows like you and I
yeah.
could not collaborate in any
Right.
way that we could really afford to collaborate before. Uh,
Right.
but
Yeah.
now, I mean, your company, but also, I have a friend in London who is great, but I can't afford to fly them here. But now all of a sudden they can sing a role in my piece because the whole thing is
Exactly.
in
Yeah, it provides so many gateways for artists, and like we normally, I wouldn't say, "Hey Tim, let me fly you out to Cleveland so we can sit and have a library chat about the awesome work that you're doing," but we have the platform here.
Yeah, precisely. So I mean, I was just talking to someone from Opera America about this. The outreach and education component becomes equally as expanded as the work itself does.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just incredible. And yeah, speaking of Upper America, we kick off the conference today
Today's the kickoff.
online.
When is it? It's
And then we start today at 2, right? Is that the first delivery?
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so
that
it's
that'll,
and
that'll
I mean that what a great I can't afford to go to the Upper America conference usually.
Mhm.
I can't afford the time and it's expensive. And now to be able to do it over a longer period of time also allows my staff to engage with it in a meaningful
Mhm.
way. Um,
Right. Yeah, and I'm usually in a production, or seeing the end of the semester at Baldwin Wallace or something like that, where it can't happen. So I think it's me trying to see the silver lining in everything, but it's hopefully a chance that we can all connect and learn from what we're all doing, and hopefully come out of it stronger.
when I
It's
feel that
scary.
organization, I mean, I feel Upper America is exemplifies what a lot of organizations are experiencing now, which they're really actually realizing their mission in a better way.
Hmm.
I feel much better supported and I feel like Upper America's been amazing through all this. Um, and in a way that we weren't able to engage with their resources before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really going to open that up and continue that bridge of communication.
And teach
Well,
things that we all should have been doing all along. We just
right.
hadn't given ourselves permission to think about them.
Yeah, and hopefully, we find a way to persevere and keep the art making going. Have you gotten into any personal projects in quarantine or isolation there that you might not otherwise have gotten into? Are you baking or cooking or sewing or
I mean, in a wonderful way, yes, not in a hobby way, in a survival way. So I'm cooking a ton, and saving a lot of money because of it, and also learning to be better at it. But also, it doesn't have the same intention of like this is going to be my hobby. It has the certain utilitarianism about it, which I love, which makes it. But to be honest, no, I'm busier. I mean, I think most people we talked about this. I'm busier now than ever. I also have a church job, which should be less than 20 hours a week, but now that's become huge. And in series has become huge because we're now trying to, plan a season in a month instead of a whole year. Um, it's exciting work, but there's no time for personal projects.
right? Yeah, and I tried to put together why it felt busier, and I thought, well, I guess we used to work in 14, 16 hour days, but usually there'd be some commuting or some travel. Now the commute is just okay, log out and log on to the next Zoom meeting, or taking a break for lunch is just maybe popping downstairs and reheating whatever leftovers you made the night before, and then
And there
coming
was
right
a
back.
window of time when people were scheduling Zoom meetings with the commute in mind. So they were still happening at like 10 and they'd be over by 5. And now I notice people are getting used to, oh, we can schedule a Zoom meeting at 9, no problem. I
That's
have
right.
one scheduled tonight at 8:30. And so like the days are really stretching. I
Yeah,
think we have to learn as a society also how to control our own schedules and
yeah.
defend the off time.
Well,
But that's hard when you're in the arts, right? I mean,
exactly. Yeah, it's a whole new world in a lot of ways. Well, speaking of being busy, I know you're a busy guy and I want to take more of your time, but thank you so much for
yeah,
joining us
it's a
today.
joy, a
Yeah,
pleasure.
great to see you. Thanks for your vision and for all the work you're doing, and thanks for all the collaboration we've had renewed thus far. And I'm looking forward to
Yeah, I look
seeing
forward to building on
kind of the
that.
things we can do. Likewise. Well, thanks, Tim.
All right.
Thank you, everybody. Catch us every weekday, Monday through Friday, at about 12:15 for either Opera 101, Page to Stage, Maestro's Corner on Fridays. And join me next Wednesday. I will have Justin John Moniz, who's the executive director for Hawaii Performing Arts Festival, and we're going to chat a little bit about their virtual festival that they're offering this summer. So thanks again, Tim. Really
Yeah,
appreciate you
my
taking the
pleasure.
time. Thank
Thank
you to
you.
everybody for watching, and hope you have a lovely day.